Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, we're looking at another helicopter. This one is much larger than it looked on the Steam Workshop page, and features one hell of a lot of firepower, and it's called the Fenix H-20, which of course is this lovely thing sitting right behind me. So it's got a bunch of gatling guns, a bunch of autocannons, an assault cannon, and then a couple of rocket launchers on each side that fire on a script so they don't all fire at the same time. We also have a fairly big interior and some fantastic use of our projector blocks, creating the rotors on top. We've got two of them spinning together to make it look like it's going much faster than it actually is. Pressing F10 and finding this in the spawn menu, the Fenix H-20 is 2,641 small blocks using the Sparks of the Future, Warfare 2, Warfare 1 and Wasteland DLC packs. We've got a nice lot of information about it. When you come down to here to see the script that it's using, and of course a link to it if you want to download it separately. And we'll just simply give this a thumbs up, move around towards the very front, have a quick look around the outside, fly around for a bit, and I think that'll be that, because I'm not actually sure space pirates will spawn on a spawned-in planet. So my character can now bugger off into the distance, there we go, and this is what we get at the very front with the Fenix H-20. So what we've got is a load of glass panels, which is going to be our cockpit to be able to drive this thing around. Just below there we can see one hell of a lot of guns, which are a static gun. They cannot move up or down, left or right, so you simply have to aim it with the cockpit. We've got our assault cannon in the middle, we've got 4 gatling guns and 4 autocannons, all on separate buttons, so you can choose what you want to blast with when you want. We also have a red and green interior light, and if we were to move up slightly, we can just about make out our propellers, which are of course our projectors, spinning around at high speeds. Coming around onto the side, this is what it looks like, so we've got even more glass to peer out from our cockpit, and that's our way in and out with 2 passenger seats. We also have a ladder to get up and inside our front cockpit to drive this thing around. Just below here we can see what we're landed down onto the ground with, which is a couple of steel blocks, come all the way down with no actual magnetic plates to lock yourself down on. Coming up to this is our atmospheric thruster pod. We've got also a bunch on the side to move us left and right. This should give us a nice amount of speed, and we'll see that a bit later on. Onto this section, this is our rocket pods to sit on both sides, and they are exceptionally shiny and exceptionally reflective, so I'm using a remastered graphic mod. Yes, we've got 3 rocket launchers on both sides, and they are all scripted up so they fire on a 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern. Make sure you don't waste too much ammunition while firing these. Looking on the side, there we go. And on the very side we can see even more atmospheric thrusters. Round over to here, a battery to keep this thing nice and powered. Behind these barred window blocks, even more large atmospheric thrusters. And as we were to move towards the very back, towards the tail, what we're going to find is another rotor just spinning around. This one has a massive blade in comparison, and spins a lot slower. Turning around to the opposite side, there we are. Then we go to continue along the body, and zoom out a little bit. There's the other rocket pods. Moving all the way up and looking down, we're not going to be able to see too much apart from one hell of a lot of great block work, giving that overall great design. But for the rotor, if we come a bit closer to it, all the way down to here, we can see how it's projecting it. So there is the rotor spinning all the way around, clipping all the way through here. This is our projector, where we've got one up here, and that's projecting one of the top propellers. We've got a rotor on another rotor, which is causing the great speed. Then right below this, we've got another projector projecting the lower blade with a identical setup. So there's a rotor there, there's a rotor there. That simply comes down to the bottom where our passengers sit, and we can see the bottom of it thanks to this hatter's skin. If we were to move all the way down and look at it from underneath, where I don't think we'll be able to see too much apart from a bunch of atmospheric thrusters, and of course our little landing rig, we'll just drop ourselves down onto the ground with. And I think that's pretty much it for the outside of the Fenix H-20. So now what I can do is just grab hold of my character, we can come all the way up to it, go inside of it, but first of all, a size comparison. So this is the engineer standing on with little metal bars on the ground, zooming away a little bit. And yes, this thing is a hell of a lot bigger than any helicopter that I've showcased on this channel. Back in the first person view, jetpacking all the way up. Looking behind here, there's our 2 seats for our passengers. There's a weapon locker, we've got 3 of these inside here. So sitting in a seat, there's 2 more. We've got 2 cargo containers at the front, a bunch of conveyors. This is linking everything to our guns at the front, so you can manually load it up with ammunition if you need to. Looking up, there's our hazard skin with our rotors above it. And then there's our ladder, get all the way up to our cockpit. In fact, I'll actually climb it for once, instead of jetpacking all the way up. So in the floor, we've got a custom weapon controller, but nothing is currently set up with it. So if you did want to, you could remove the guns at the front and turn them into an actual turreted version instead of being static. That's entirely up to you. Towards the front, there is a programmable block with our salvo script with that very recognizable image on the front. And around the room here, we've got another seat with the same controls as the one in front, 2 batteries, and a timer block. And there we are. Now just hop into the seat, first person view, this is what we get all the way around us. To get a fantastic view of what's going on, and we should have no issues with like crashing into stuff or seeing any enemies approaching. But as for the controls, going to third person view, number 1 is going to be to turn off all of our atmospheric thrusters around the ship, and of course all of our rotors. So hitting number 1, that'll slowly come to a stop and act like a proper helicopter. Anyway, number 2 is going for our camera right next to our guns, where we do have a little bit of a tunnel in front of us to make sure it does have a bit of protection from any kind of stray shots coming towards the guns at the front. Number 3 is for our rocket launchers, which sit on our side wings, so looking at it from this angle, we can see the salvo script in action. Number 4 is for our assault cannon, which is the one at the front. Number 5 is for our autocannons. And then number 6 is for our gatling guns, with number 9 being for our atmospheric thrusters, where I'll need to press number 1 again, take this thing off the ground, press number 9, that'll switch off our front atmospheric thrusters, so when we move forwards, we won't slow down. Putting them back on, we'll come to a stop, and that's that for the controls. So now what we can do is fly this thing around, see how it handles, then I think I'll just slam it into the ground, so I don't think any pirates will spawn. So moving forwards, this is what we get. We've got some nice speed thanks to all of our atmospheric thrusters. Coming to a stop, we feel equally as fast, which is always nice if you are charging along at 100 meters per second towards the station. Moving left, and moving right, we've got some fantastic speed with that, even better than forwards and backwards. Moving down, and then moving up as faster than everything else. That's to be expected when you're on a planet. As for gyroscope controls, this is what we get. It is a little bit different than other ships that have flown, where it does really want to tip over, but that might just be because of the rotors spinning around. If I were to self-right this thing, if I can, might be able to before it crashes into the ground. There we go, it really wants to tip over, it's actively fighting me, it really wants to go to the left-hand side, and yes, that could be a little bit of an issue if you are flying around at high speeds and accidentally do a sharp turn. So if I was to move forwards, and then start to turn around, it'll then lean over. If I was to try and self-right this thing, it just doesn't want to go back to how it's supposed to go. It really wants to continue leaning in this direction. It takes quite a lot of fighting to get it to go level and make it, well, pretty safe to fly. But yes, that is something to watch out for. But as for that is pretty much it what the Fenix H-20 has to offer. It's a lovely ship with one hell of a lot of firepower, a fantastic rotor blade on top, and I'd highly recommend downloading it just to check it out, and of course to see how the rotors have been set up, in case you want to use it on one of your designs. So there'll be a link to it in the description below if you do wish to download it and play around it yourself. Highly recommend you do. I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.